Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS with Rachelle, folks. It is always great to be here with you on another Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS. Yes, Fitness Fridays are always the best day of the week. Gotta love it. And folks, I wanted to first kick off this episode by making sure to highlight, I know I put a note in last week's Fitness Friday post, just to clarify, my mask removal date is June 25th, not June 11th. I forgot to include the extra 2 weeks, so I misspoke. I meant to say June 25th. So my mask removal date inside the gym and outside of the gym will be that date, as at that particular point I will be fully vaccinated according to CDC guidelines. So I wanted to make sure I clarified that as I kick off this episode, and wanted to make sure, I know last time I included just a few story times in last week's episode. I typically reserve those for actually formal speaking engagements. That's one of my signature things that I'm known for, or my stories, my personal stories and examples. And so wanted to dropped a few of those in there last week. And I wanted to actually just kind of tell you a little something else that's happened here in the last few days. Is I was actually in Burlington doing some shopping in Burlington. This is not a promotion for Burlington or anything inside Burlington Coat Factory, but actually look what I actually ended up buying. So I purchased these exercise mats. Again, Burlington been years and years and years selling clothes and coats and all these shoes, other things, some home decor and all that kind of stuff. But actually last year, I really noticed that last year during the COVID pandemic, they really upped their fitness game in terms of what they offer, what they had to offer. So got these exercise mats to put under my elliptical, my new elliptical that I told you about last week. And it really made me smile because as a past member of Bally Fitness, I was so excited when I saw these, like Bally. It's so cool to know again that brand remains iconic in the fitness industry. But just had to share that with you. So excited to see that as I continue to make upgrades here at Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. And folks, wanted to also share, before I forget, wrote myself a note here, club industry. I've cited club industry a number of times over the years here on Fitness Friday, but wanted to make you aware of a virtual event that they're having, and it's a free virtual event, and this is certainly pertinent to particularly those in fitness leadership positions. They are having an event entitled The Future of Fitness. And so it is going to occur on June 16th and 17th of this year. You can Google it, or you can go to Club Industry Magazine. You can Google that, and you will be able to find a link to be able to register for that. But wanted to make you aware, they've got a lot of good sessions lined up for that. And just for those, again, as we navigate these uncharted waters during this coronavirus pandemic, always happy to pass along some helpful information as we move forward. And folks, I also wanted to push this particular conversation here, as I have here, this what I'm going to highlight, to the front of this episode. And Corey Sterling, also in athletic business, and this was May 2021, he wrote an article entitled "Tips for Gym Owners to Avoid Liability in the COVID Era." And I saw this and I said, this is actually really good information. As I've shared on certainly non-Fitness Fridays and certainly definitely Fitness Fridays over the years, I've had the pleasure of being mentored just by some gracious, generous people, lawyers here, of course, in Metro Detroit and some in Chicago who are affiliated with Northwestern. And I have received just wonderful wisdom, wonderful nuggets of wisdom from a legal standpoint. And so I'm always happy to pass along legal nuggets and things like that, but I saw this and had to share this. So not going to read all of this because it's quite a bit, but you can certainly Google the article, you can find it, go to athleticbusiness.com, look it up. But in light of this coronavirus pandemic, it had a couple of things I want to point out. And so that is, and let me just read each section that they have, each tip, and then I'm just going to focus on a couple here. So number 1, create a solid waiver. Number 2, reevaluate service agreements. Number 3, re-sign agreements now, and they have a special little box saying COVID proof that I'm going to come back and highlight. Next, distinguish between agreements. Next, learn and adhere to municipal laws. And finally, be proactive, be safe. But in the interest of time, I want to come back here to reevaluate service agreements. All right, because it goes on to say, update your membership or service agreements to to protect your business from chargebacks or disputes. Adding some simple legal language goes a long way in protecting you against cancellations or terminations made outside the scope of your agreement. For example, define your services as being offered both online and in person so your members know they aren't entitled to a refund if you cannot offer in-person classes. You should also add a force majeure clause to your agreements to protect you from unforeseeable circumstances that might prevent you from fulfilling your contract. Now, I talked about that particular clause last year, late last spring, last summer, as lawsuits were filed. A number of gyms were sued last year regarding billing practices, and specifically around this force majeure clause, in which these facilities were not protected and certainly had some legal exposures there. Not going to talk about that whole or bring up that whole conversation again, but just know how important that is. And next, I want to highlight re-sign agreements now. Use recent changes in the fitness industry and the way in which we provide our services as a catalyst to get all of your agreements down in writing. Understand and be confident in your relationships. There has never been a better time to reorganize your written agreements to suit the new needs of your business. This is your best opportunity to make sure everyone with whom you have a business relationship has signed an agreement that openly and honestly communicates your expectations. All right, lastly, I want to highlight this COVID-proof little box here. Very, very important. Whether you like it or not, having a client test positive for COVID-19 is a possibility for which you need to be prepared. Have a legal waiver in place that includes specific language about students taking a risk of contracting COVID-19 while participating in classes. By doing so, you're no longer liable for COVID-19 related issues that may arise. Paying a small fee for a legal document that protects you from legal issues related to COVID-19 is a no-brainer. So I had to kick off this episode with that, because I think a lot of times, as far as legal issues, potential legal issues come, we all have blind spots. I mean, professionally, personally, whatever the case may be, and I've shared on a past episode how regarding just the wonderful folks that really just given me such wonderful wisdom, legal tips and words of wisdom and mentoring, informal mentoring, has been wonderful, because I had blind spots and I I remember what someone told me. I won't say the person's name, but they said, you know what, Rachelle, you were such a positive person. You always see the sunny side in everything. You believe the best in everyone. And in a legal profession, we have a term for people just like you, and we call them litigants. Because you're going to end up in court because someone has done you wrong, and you didn't take steps to protect yourself in certain situations. So had to share that. And so, just this was such a big issue last year when gyms closed and all of this were legal exposure and force majeure and all of that. So we had to kick off with that. But I want to segue now, moving on to some good news. I know during this pandemic, it's been, oh goodness, gym numbers are down. A lot of gyms, thousands of gyms have closed. We had some filed bankruptcy. We had some emerge from bankruptcy and all of that. It's been a lot of, quite frankly, there's been a lot of negative news here in the last year, and I'm sure you would all agree. It's been realistic and it's been the truth, but there's been a lot of negative news. So I wanted to uplift your spirit by sharing some positive news. Pamela Kofal, a content director for Club Industry, published this article on May 13, 2021, entitled Health Club Performance is Getting Closer to 2019 Numbers per Report. Let me share a little bit. I'm not going to read all of this, but just wanted to encourage you this morning with this. As the end of March 2021, active members were 66% back to normal. Gross revenue was 80% back to normal, and check-ins were 55% back to normal when normal is considered March 2019 levels, according to a report from DAXCO, analyzing data from its fitness industry clients. And there's a parentheses, the active member data was lacking boutique studio data, DAXCO noted. As we move into 2021, vaccines become more widely distributed. The fitness industry stands to see its strongest year yet. At just a little over 3 months into the new year, fitness facilities are already seeing major improvements in all key performance indicator categories. authors of the 2020 Nonprofit Wellness Industry Report, wrote, "The report, which shares numbers for nonprofit organizations, health clubs, and boutique fitness studios, includes data such as percent to normal data on revenue, member check-ins, joins, holds, cancellations, and more. The March 2021 data shows an improvement from December 2020 data. In December 2020, the data showed that compared to December 2019, active members were 77% back to normal, gross revenue was 80% back to normal, and check-ins were 47% back to normal. Broken down by industry segment, the report found the following for YMCAs, JCC, and community centers comparing December 2020 to December 2019. Revenue 83% back to normal, check-ins 39% back to normal, membership 72% back to normal. You know what, I'm just going to read all of this just for full context because I know we have some health club leaders watching this. And this next part, for health clubs, the data showed the following compared to 2019. Check-ins 67.9% back to normal, new joins up 117%, cancellations up 33.2%, yes. Member holds up 96.5%. And lastly, for boutique studios, the data showed the following compared to 2019. Revenue 88.5% back to normal, check-ins 87.1% back to normal, and lastly, active memberships 82.3% normal, and then brackets and parentheses 2021 compared to 2019. So I actually ended up reading the entire article here. It wasn't too long, but just wanted to provide the full context. As I started reading, I thought, you know what, it would be interesting for folks to hear the different facility segments and how they are doing and how they are rebounding during this pandemic, you know, as we're starting to see things open up and gym restrictions be eliminated, lifted, and all of that. So just had to share that. Isn't that good news? Isn't that good news? Because we know, and yes, just going to take a quick minute here to highlight. You know, we got the SWOT analysis, and this was, folks, I actually left this upstairs because I keep this upstairs, you know, next to where I typically film upstairs. And I said, you know what, I cannot, I had to run back upstairs and get my SWOT analysis here, my clipboard, because we know the coronavirus pandemic has been a tremendous threat on industries across the board. Not just, of course, the fitness industry, but the fitness industry has certainly taken a larger hit because facilities were totally closed for months. And so there were just a lot of issues there. And so, but at the same time, as I often state, during any season of adversity, in life, in business, whatever the case may be, there's always opportunity. There's always opportunity. There's silver linings. There's lessons. You know, many businesses, many organizations, including fitness facilities and studios, private, public, commercial, whatever the case may be, have made some necessary adjustments, have pivoted, made some, you know, what can we do differently? Innovated. It's forced some facilities who are very reluctant and reticent to leverage technology, integrate technology into their service and offerings of their facilities. But the coronavirus pandemic, when those facilities closed, boom, then all of a sudden you had a lot of facilities really accelerating their adoption and integration of technology. So there's things, again, they may have dragged their feet, a fitness facility owner or leader may have dragged their feet for a few years now with that, but then all of a sudden, what is that whole saying, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. And so a lot of entities across the board pivoted. There are different ways of doing things. There's, you know, when we face adversity and when certain doors close, it forces us to do things differently, whether it's me working out here at Rachelle's Home Fitness Center, or even, you know, when I flew to Louisiana most recently in April, boarding the plane and thinking to myself, like, man, I really wish, see the threat of the pandemic, which caused me to drive to Louisiana instead of always flying as I've done for a number of years. I was thinking to myself, man, I wish I could drive right now. But you know, there's a shortage of rental cars, and so I didn't want to deal with all that drama. And so, but had to point that out, So innovation, new things, new ways of looking at things, it's so important. So we're historically a facility or facilities may have had certain weaknesses in certain areas, such as leveraging or adopting technology into their overall platforms. Now the pandemic has forced them to make the necessary adjustments, and know they've got, you know, some of these weaknesses have turned into strengths. So always got to look at the positive side. Look for the lessons. Look for the opportunities for growth, for development, for acceleration and achievement of goals. It is certainly there regardless of what is going on in life, what is going on in the world. And that, folks, was a setup for my highlighting this club industry article published on April 27th. And this is just attributed to the club industry staff. The title of this article is Gold's Gym Unveils New Concept for Brand in Berlin. And so Gold's Gym is going back to its roots. And I've talked about, it's been a few years ago where I really talked about Gold's Gym, but really laid a strong foundation, particularly around the fitness chain concept. Some people refer to Joe Gold as, him developing and creating Gold's Gym, really kind of the father of the fitness chain. He's been referred to informally as that. But they're going back to their roots. And let me share a little bit of why. I'm not going to read all of this, certainly in the interest of time, but it says RSG Group, GmbH, is taking Gold's Gym back to its bodybuilding past while also focusing on sustainable design with the unveiling of its company-owned flagship club in Berlin, Germany. Yes, Berlin is where RSG Group, GmbH, which bought Gold's Gym in summer 2020, is headquartered. The 55,000 square foot Berlin campus is RSG Group's proof of concept, meeting point and inspiration for all future Gold's Gym locations, the company said. The official date to open to the public is pending based on the current COVID-19 restrictions in Germany, but the brand is offering a virtual tour of the club. You can actually click on that link here. The virtual tour of the club is hyperlinked, and you can see and get a virtual tour. Very interesting. When we acquired Gold's Gym through the Chapter 11 process 9 months ago, we were driven to invest in a way that honored the brand's iconic legacy while returning a pioneering leader to its rightful place, once again ahead of its time with the very best fitness amenities on the planet. Rainer Schaller, founder and CEO of RSG Group, said in the announcement, "Our Berlin flagship represents the contemporary redefinition of the brand and product concept to the highest degree of perfection, and it sets the stage for a whole new golden era of Gold's Gym." The Berlin facility was designed with insight gained from Gold's Gym's social media partnership with Lou Ferrigno, highlighted him when I was a member of Powerhouse, that surveyed the public about what they wanted in the perfect gym. The flagship features a performance center reserved exclusively for top athletes, sports clubs, partners, and friends of the brand, as well as the Gold's Gym Academy, a training and education institute for fitness trainers and head coaches of the Gold's Gym brand, Gold's Gym franchise owners, and external interested parties seeking Gold's Gym fitness expertise. So not going to read the rest of that, but Gold's Gym, yeah, there's been some reflection, some introspection. What are we going to do? They required, and so made some changes. We're actually, the leadership of RSG Group, we're going to pivot back to our roots, the roots of this brand. What did this brand stand for? And this is a whole conversation I can have. It's a marketing conversation really on brand identity, and realizing they've realized, and I'm sure there was some market research and things that were performed as a part of the evaluation or evaluative process, and that hey, this going back to how we initially identified our brand, our positioning in the marketplace for bodybuilders, top athletes, that worked for us. And so we want to go back to that. And so adversity, hardship, transition, struggle, yes, the coronavirus pandemic, in this case, acquisition, by another company, can really encourage us to do some soul searching. Go back to what is important, evaluate what's important, what are my values, what do I stand for? Certainly on a personal level, on a professional level, but certainly from a facility perspective, a marketing perspective. And so that was a really good example I wanted to highlight here for Gold's Gym. Very good insight. Going to highlight a couple more examples here, just in terms of the pandemic and how the pandemic is impacting certain chains and all of that. As this is fitness, this episode is around discussing fitness industry trends, particularly around fitness facilities. And this also comes from club industry. And so this was published on May 11th, 2021, also attributed to club industry staff. The title of this article is Planet Fitness Reports Q1 2021 Revenue Decrease of 12%. All right, so one thing, Planet Fitness, mentioned this on a number of episodes, publicly traded company. So a lot of their financials are revealed, and there's certainly, you can see where the numbers are, you can compare different time periods, and so it's all here for us to see. So I'm not going to read all of this, but Planet Fitness, Hampton, New Hampshire, reported $111.88 million in the first quarter 2021 revenue, a 12.1% decrease from first quarter 2020 when revenue was $127.2 million, the company announced on May 6th. It did, however, report adding 600 new net members in the quarter, ending with 14.1 million memberships. It also reported that almost 100% of its clubs are now reopened and that it opened 22 new locations in the quarter, bringing system-wide total stores to 2,146 as of March 31st, 2021. Planet Fitness CEO Chris Rondeau said, "We are very encouraged by the clear and steady improvement in overall sentiment we witnessed in America during the first quarter and the corresponding impact it had on our business. We're pleased to announce that we experienced sequential net member growth in each month of the quarter, ending March with 14.1 million members. We believe that the positive headline news on COVID-19 vaccine availability drove a seasonality shift in our membership trends as March membership growth exceeded March 2019, reinforcing our belief that people are eager to get back into our gyms." He anticipates the operating environment will remain volatile in the near term. However, he expressed optimism due to the company's membership and usage trends, as well as its recent partnership with technology company iFit Health and Fitness. As we look to the future, we believe our purpose of enhancing people's lives and creating a healthier world sets us and our franchisees up for long-term success. Now, I'm going to read this next paragraph, and I'm not going to read the rest of this article, because it's important to note is that Planet Fitness is unique. This is not investment advice, nothing like that, but this is more for just the clarity of the information with full context in terms of how they report their numbers and where their revenue sources come from, because they are unique from the standpoint. Let me just read it. Planet Fitness revenue comes from three segments. It's franchisees, not uncommon. It's corporate-owned clubs, not uncommon, but this is what's uncommon. And its equipment sales to franchisees. The franchisee revenue increased $5.5 million or 9.5% to $64.1 million compared to $58.5 million in the first quarter 2020. Part of this segment revenue includes lower royalty and national advertising fund collections in the 3 months ended March 31st, 2021, as well as lower membership levels as a result of COVID-19. But those decreases were offset by a deferral of $14.1 million of royalty revenue and $4.6 million of national fund revenue in the 3 months ended March 31st, 2020 that was collected but not recognized because of temporary store closures as a result of COVID-19. So that gives you some insight in terms of what's going on. And I'm always going to highlight Planet Fitness. Yes, I'm no longer a member, but as they market from a facility standpoint with the large membership base that they have a market leadership position. So you can't discuss fitness industry trends of what's going on. You got to pay, particularly with a publicly traded companies that's going to release these numbers, release this data, and that gives you some insight. Okay, what's going on with Planet? What's going on with Planet does not have anything. I mean, don't just look at this and say, oh no, their revenue's down. We're doomed. The industry is doomed because they're the market leader and they have a $10 a month membership. No. Don't let another entity's position define your reality. But what it will do, or what it can do, is provide insight to say, okay, so they're facing some challenges. I'm facing some challenges. From a validation standpoint, but just insight to say, what's going on. But they are unique, as I stated, because they've got 3 different revenue sources that is unlike what you'll see among common fitness chains here in the industry. So the advertising fund went down. I've talked year after year after year about their marketing budget, advertising budget, and so they spend quite a bit on marketing and advertising, and that's why often my advice is always very clear, is that don't try to go toe to toe from a marketing and advertising standpoint with Planet. Just don't do it. You will end up blowing your budget. You will end up just not receiving it or not experiencing those same level of results, because you have to remember, from a target market standpoint, who are their primary target audiences? First-time gym goers and casual gym goers. Okay, they don't have a traditional sales model where they don't have sales staff. They're not selling personal training. They don't have membership upgrades in terms of tiered membership. Yes, they have a tiered membership where they have the white card membership or the black card membership, but I mean in terms of sales, in terms of experiences, where you will have fitness chains that have, the second or third tier membership has more amenities, like a group fitness class or certain types of group fitness classes, more, the ability to access certain parts of the gym floor. Those are the differences that I mean there. That yes, they've got the two-tiered model, so black card and white card membership, but there's no, there's sales staff. There's no traditional, and we're going to talk next time about sales culture in the fitness industry regarding facilities and chains. But a traditional sales culture they do not have, and so they rely. That is a marketing driven culture. All right, because it's very tough and it's incredibly expensive to try to have both a strong sales culture and a strong marketing culture, because marketing and advertising is very expensive. They have radio, they have TV, they have billboard, they have online, they have just different facets and different channels that they use for their marketing and advertising. But for the typical chain that is not trying to drive, that's one thing with Planet, with those basic memberships where they're not selling things and from personal training and protein shakes and all these types of things that you may see in a cafe, a fitness cafe. Very different goals that they have. They need that volume. You got $10 a month membership. You gotta drive volume. When you're not selling, you're not selling anything else. That can certainly increase the average revenue per member or average revenue per family. For example, if someone has a family membership at a chain like Lifetime Fitness. So that is that. And the last example, I wrote myself a note because I didn't want to forget this, and that is Blink Fitness. And year before last, I told you that my goal at the time was still a member of Planet, was going to, as I often study different fitness chains within the industry, certainly a couple of private entities I've studied over the years. There's just always key learnings and key lessons. And so I enjoy that experience. And sometimes I'll share some of my learnings, certainly on Fitness Friday, but Blink Fitness. So a couple years ago, I was a member of Planet. So my goal, okay, I'm going to study Edge Fitness and I'm going to study Blink Fitness. And so I joined Edge Fitness. That's actually the first time I've actually, studied evaluated a chain or an entity, fitness entity like that, and actually joined. And so that's that. You see how that turned out. I've joined, I'm a member. And so, but also Blink Fitness. And so I've not done as much research, and I've certainly not studied to the extent as I have historically when studying fitness entities. But wanted to highlight here, as I'm coming back to sales next week, but wanted to highlight Blink Fitness had an example of a sales promotion they were running back in the month of March. And so at that point, they were giving away, you didn't have to pay your membership until May. So they were giving a few weeks free. All right, and so that's becoming, a month free is becoming, quite frankly, kind of a promotional standard in the industry. Buy a month, get one free, or refer somebody, get a month free. You're just starting to see that becoming more and more common, particularly on the commercial side. But, all right, I was going to highlight them, and I'm not going to do that on the promotional episode when I'm discussing sales, because there's something else that has come up, I think, that is far more important. But when I was evaluating that, when I was just looking at their website, researching and studying that, I recognized something stood out to me when I clicked the join button. And so that's always, you always want to evaluate. You can just look at a website, but just click on different things. What happens when you click join now? What happens when you click this? What happens when you click that? You learn a lot. And so I clicked and join now, because I wanted to see if there's any additional promotions or some terms and conditions, something there that can be insightful that I can learn from. Of course, I had no intention of joining. This is just part of what I do from a research standpoint, just interested in learning and just seeing what's going on. So click join now, and I noticed something at that particular time, so we're talking about the month of March. So I noticed that their annual fee was $53.99. All right, and that was billed, in 2 months on the third day. So the third day of the second month after joining. All right, and also you start to see certainly fitness change, everything from every 6 months, once a year annual fee billing to 6 months. I've seen it. I think I'm starting to see it more on the second month, and certainly that's what Planet does, and so others have kind of followed that lead, billing on the second month. They will bill you. And so I noticed though that Blink, yes, well, they had the second month on the third day. This is when your annual fee is going to kick in. But it was $53.99, and I said, wow. Prior to that point, particularly from this particular segment of fitness facilities in terms of their price points, I said, wow, $53.99. They've been the first that I've seen of the major chains like that with the annual fee setup that's broken that $49, because prior to that, $49.99 was the most expensive I had seen within that competitive class in terms of their annual membership fee. And I said, wow, $53.99, they've broken that, they've broken the mold and upping the price to $53.99. But guess what? The reality of their situation, with all due respect to Blink, the reality of their situation dictated that. All right, and so 2 days ago, because again, that was weeks ago, I always have to go back and take a look again, particularly when I'm about to mention something like this on a Fitness Friday or any other situation. I want to make sure that this is still the case. This is still what's going on. But when I did it 2 days ago, I noticed that the annual fee is $54.99. So it went up by $1. $54.99 annual maintenance fee charged on third day of second month after joining. So again, it's still the same time frame in terms of when you're billed for it, but it went up $1. It went up $1. Also noticed, yes, they have the same 3 membership levels, but 2 out of those 3 require a 12-month agreement. So they have the hybrid model of a commitment or a term-based 12-month term-based memberships. They have 2 of those, and they have 1 for no commitment. Why? From a competitive standpoint, certainly you see a number of entities going in that direction. Why? Because Planet a number of years ago went in that direction, particularly with that 10-month membership, $10 a month membership, and they, other entities have followed that lead. So $54.99 annual maintenance fee, and this is the last thing I want to notice. And so I went to Google, also went to Yelp, and looked at that. But something else that caught my eye is, now this was Blink Fitness Redford. All right, so the hours of operation. I noticed a change in their hours of operation from the last time I had looked, and that is, and particularly since they launched. So I should certainly preface it to say, I talked about Blink Fitness a couple of years ago quite a bit, as they're one of our newest market entrants in terms of fitness chains here in our Metro Detroit areas, but they're expanding and they're opening up in a few states. And I know that for the Michigan clubs in particular, this is something that I highlighted. Draymond Green, the NBA star player who played for Michigan State. So he's definitely kind of an icon, in the state of Michigan. And so he's a partner with the Michigan-based clubs. So he has some involvement, some affiliation, some partnership with those folks. And so, but the hours of operation, all right? And so look at this. Monday, 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. And I saw that, and I remember thinking, like, is this really? Like, what? Is this okay? With all due respect, I saw that and I said, is that a typo? Is that, I saw it on Google, then I went to Yelp and it said the same thing. Then I said, no, I need to go back to the website to confirm this. And that's exactly what the website said. Tuesday, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Wednesday, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Thursday, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Sunday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. All right, so just some examples there of certainly the pandemic's impact on the operation, certainly of what we have here going on locally with Blink Fitness. But why I wanted to highlight that is, we go back to, drop all my papers down here, don't want anything to fall. We go back to the SWOT analysis. So when I said that, the opportunities to say, and many entities, certainly not just in the fitness industry, okay, have evaluated, have really dug deep and said, what is our return on investment? Particularly in the fitness industry, you had entities that were open 24 hours, and you would have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 people coming in on the overnight shift. And with that, with that increased number of hours in terms of increased hours of operation, what you'll see sometimes is certainly an increase of legal exposure. And so we're talking about sexual assaults that happen in facilities, we're talking about crime, other crimes, car break-ins. And so it's certainly an issue there to say, okay, is it really worth us? And so entities have done that, within the fitness industry and certainly outside. Okay, what are our hours of operation? How many customers do we have coming in at this particular time? What is when we do a cost-benefit analysis, is it really worth us being open? Is it really worth us doing this? And so why I wanted to, and that's the thing with adversity and struggle and hardship, all right? And those are the situations that cause us to say, what's working? Is this working? Is this not working? What do we need to do? Do we need to pivot? Do we need to close our hours? Do we need to shorten our hours? Do we need to close on a particular day? Do we need to lower our prices? Do we need to raise our prices? And so I wanted to highlight Blink, and certainly, applaud them, certainly applaud the leadership to say, times are tough. Our expenses have gone up. The coronavirus has hit us hard with gym closures and things like that. And so adherence to COVID protocols, and this is certainly true across industries, have increased our expenses. So what can we do to try to make up some of those financial losses? And if that means a $1 increase of an annual fee, if that means shortening our hours where we see that we really have a paucity of members coming in at a certain time or during a certain period of the day or a certain day of the week, just making the tough decisions. Leadership development and training is certainly one of my professional areas, and so I really applaud that. And many entities have done that. I'm just highlighting Blink for this example. Don't think, oh goodness, she's just highlighting Blink. But no, many entities have done that. But Blink certainly by cutting the hours on Mondays and increasing that annual fee. It just we had some courageous folks that faced the reality of this situation and said, what do we need to do? We've got to make some tough decisions. So I'm sure each and every one of you has made some tough decisions as well. So from a leadership perspective, don't be afraid to make the tough decisions. Don't be afraid to make the tough decisions. All right. If you provide value, if you give customers a reason or members a reason to stick with you, to hang out with you, to join you, all right, you've got to be secure enough to know that hey, we're good at what we do. We rock. We provide strong value. We are worth paying for. We are worth hanging on to in terms from a membership perspective, membership retention perspective, folks. But just wanted to highlight Blink Fitness, and I saw that and I said, wow, 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. That was a pretty significant cut, but there's a reason for that. And so that's life 101. We're often required to make tough decisions, and adversity often forces us to make those tough decisions, folks. And so I want to close this episode out. As you know, we're in the heart of the playoffs with the NBA. So got my little basketball here. But so one thing I want to close with this point here. When you think about whether we're talking about the playoffs in the NBA or March Madness in the NC2A or the playoffs in the NFL. Okay, so we reach those, the postseason play. One thing you'll often hear, you listen to the pundits, those broadcasters and folks like that. One thing you'll often hear them say is, oh, so-and-so had a perfect season, coming into the playoffs, or so-and-so, only lost two games, or, so-and-so was a defensive powerhouse, or so-and-so with this dual threat quarterback really made some stuff happen in the regular season. All right, so, but they'll often preface those comments by saying, but this is the playoffs. This is the playoffs. Things change during the playoff season. All right, things change during March Madness. Why? Because even those teams that did really well during the regular season, or even teams that may have, maybe not done as well, and you always see shockers and you see stunners, particularly, and then March Madness is known for that, and hence the March Madness name. Why? Because entities are forced to reset, do a reset. Okay, we did this happened in the regular season, got to do a reset and move forward with expecting a heightened level of play and a heightened level of competition in the playoffs. All right, so you got folks that got to bring your A game. You got to bring your A game. Each and every game, you can't take anything for granted during the playoff season, because what you did before may have been great, but everyone is taking it up several notches here in the postseason. And so when we think about the impact of the Rona, to borrow from the vernacular, the Rona, the impact has been tough. The impact has been rough. All right, there's been a lot of entities that have pivoted, that have adopted and leveraged technology like never before. All wonderful things. Some entities have struggled. Some entities, fitness entities, have closed permanently. Some have closed or filed for bankruptcy and emerged from that. Thank goodness. But so I just want to challenge you today. As we emerge. We're not totally out of the COVID-19 or coronavirus woods yet. All right, we've got guidelines being lifted. We've got capacity limits being expanded. We've got mask mandates, being lifted for fully vaccinated individuals. So you got the encouraging information I shared with you about that report that said that hey, numbers are really starting to look good again. Members are coming back. All right, so the opportunity once again is starting to come back to the fitness industry. So as you perform your resets and get ready, as you move forward in this new era of fitness, I just challenge you. I challenge you to bring your A game. Perform those ROI, those return on investment analyses. Perform the SWOT analyses to see what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses. Okay, what were our strengths and weaknesses pre-COVID? What are our current strengths and weaknesses? What can we work on moving forward in this new, certainly forever changed era in fitness? So folks, I have no doubt that you have what it takes to be successful, right? But it's going to take asking yourself tough questions. I know you've done a lot of that already, but continuing to ask yourself tough questions. Face truth, face reality. Be willing to make the necessary changes to ensure not just your survival in 2021 and beyond, but you're thriving. All right, I want you to thrive. I'm pro fitness. I don't care what entity it is. I don't care what studio it is. I don't care what community center. I don't care. Somebody's home gym. I want people to be successful. I know you have what it takes. So let me encourage you today. It's been rough. It's been a rough year plus 14 months. And so we can make things happen in 2021 and beyond, but it starts with us. It starts with us, folks. So that is all I have for you today. This has been so much fun. I just love it. Certainly nothing I'd rather be doing right now than this Fitness Friday episode, encouraging you, being of service to you. So next week, I'm going to kick off, return to the concept of the topic of sales. I'm going to talk about sales culture and sales process. So stay tuned for that, folks. But until then, remember, I am positively passionate about your fitness, leadership, and success in 2021 and beyond. Make it a great